With Season 2's update about a week ago, we got an update that brought along new maps, new modes, new operators, new battle pass, but most importantly to many, new weapons. Along with these new weapons, the Grau 5.56 and the Striker 45 came a small balancing pass for the existing weapons as well, touching a couple of them and making some needed changes. So the question that I feel is always relevant to ask after any sort of balancing and introduction of new weapons is, how do they all stack up? What's the best weapons to use after that update? So today, that's what I want to examine with you and give you my power rankings, the top 5 weapons after the patch, as well as a few honorable mentions as well, since we often see a few of these stay static in their placings, and also a decent cluster of weapons that are really good and then a steep drop off. So that said, let's take a look at these, what we have on deck here, and break down these rankings. And at any point, if you'd like to add or subtract a weapon from this list, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments below what your top 5 may be. And as well, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. We're getting incredibly close to 300,000 subscribers, and of course, we'll keep you up to date with all things you need to know about Modern Warfare on a daily basis. But anyways, let's get into it. Let's just start out with tossing the hats in the ring here, shall we? For the top 5, I'd wager that it's the M4A1, the MP5, the Grau 5.56, the M13, and the Ram 7. Now, the update on Tuesday offered up new weapons of the Grau 5.56, the Striker 45, and then adjusted a few weapons on the back end. Of those affected, it was the crossbow, SA-87, and the Ram 7. Now, the crossbow had some fixes for tracking, explosive bolts, and reload speed. The SA-87 had a recoil reduction and increase to the damage, and the Ram 7 had that extended mags moved up from 45 rounds to 50, as it should have almost a month ago with update 1.13. So those updates didn't touch the top 5 really too much, except for that mentioned introduction of the Grau 5.56. Now, unlike past breakdowns of the top 5, I think that this time I actually want to give you a solid ranking, 1 through 5. First, I think the M4A1 is still that king. It still reigns supreme. A little while ago, it did get a slight nerf to it along with the MP5, but having played around with it and having seen the air quote shift in the meta, it's not anything substantial that completely dethrones these weapons. It shook it up a bit, but it's easy to rebound and to recover after those changes. The M4A1 in its damage profile, its rate of fire, its recoil control, its mobility, its magazine size, all of the attributes, we've said it all before. It's not the best in class in I think any of those attributes or areas, but it's a dead center middle where it's great in all aspects. It's good in every single category, so therefore it's the jack of all trades weapon. And as such, it's the best out of the rifles in my opinion, and even all guns in the game. You can pick it up and do well with it no matter if you're a level 1 or a seasoned veteran of 155 across every season. And for that, it solidifies its number 1 spot here in my opinion. The number 2 weapon I'd say here can basically have almost all those things said verbatim about it. That being in the SMG class though, the MP5. It still seriously kicks ass. Even post slight nerf, there's just something about it that makes it so much better to use than all the other weapons, from the versatility to its range to the magazine adjustment where you can change out the rounds that you end up using to 10mm. It's just got enough to compete in every market of that weapon that it again is the jack of all trades SMG. Still competes even against some rifles in the game. Thus, you'll see it everywhere. So once again, there's no question in my mind that this is still the 1-2 combo in this game, the M4 and MP5. We mentioned last time we did a power rankings video that I believed that it would be those 2 weapons, 1 and 2 from here on out for as long as this game lives on. And funnily enough, a day or two after that statement was said, we did get a tuning patch that actually knocked them down ever so slightly, but still not enough to dethrone them. So those 2 definitely think they are 1 and 2. But third place though, that's where we get a brand new beast in the mix. Not even just something that's moved up the power rankings into the top 5, but one that's thrown in the mix for the very first time, because last month's power rankings, it wasn't there at all, and even it wasn't there as of last week. That being the Grau 5.56 for number 3. Described even in-game as a lightweight maneuverable weapon with exceptional range, it lives up to just that and quickly has become one of the best handling weapons in the game. Many have even stated that it's better than the M4, which I don't know if I'm willing to make that statement yet and jump to that conclusion, but it's incredibly close. The rate of fire is a bit higher than that of, say, the M4, but also seems to lack the comparative punch in terms of damage per shot, but they both equal out, really. With the Grau, you can absolutely take down enemies with ease, though I'd highly recommend ranking up your weapon enough to get some magazine modifications so that you can hold upwards of 60 rounds per mag, because you'll burn through the standard 30 rather quickly with the rate of fire, and as well, with only 2 magazines in reserve, if you're not running Scavenger, it could spell trouble for any streak you may be on. But depending on what you want out of your weapon as well, you can adjust your barrels. For quicker, more CQC gunplay, the ZLR Drifter is a solid choice, but your extra damage range in the traditional rifle play will favor favor more of the 26.4 Archangel or the 20.8 Nexus barrels. Toss on some of your other favorite attachments like a stippled grip tape or a stock of your choice, and overall the thing handles incredibly well. If you buy the premium battle pass, you end up getting this thing right off the bat with the bundle. It takes you up to tier 20 and you get it at 15, but if you don't, again, it's tier 15, so it's not too much of a grind to begin with, and you can almost jump into it immediately. So for the time being, I definitely say that the properties that it has, and of course the ease of use that it has, it makes for a weapon that certainly cracks my top 5. Who knows if it will get nerfed, but dang, right now it is solid. Next, we're gonna jump to the 4th spot here for what I think is the M13. One that for the time being, right after the weapon adjustments made a few weeks back, I was absolutely in love with, and as a result, I feel compelled to have to showcase that clip where I turned on somebody again, but it was just such a testament to how strong this thing felt after its update. Now, I don't think that this is the best weapon now, naturally, as it's the 4th spot, but it's definitely a top 3 rifle and of course a top 5 weapon. When this was adjusted at the end of January, it saw a range increase, a reduction to the horizontal recoil, and a small damage increase to help the effectiveness of headshot multipliers. So when you looked at the stat changes in particular, they were honestly pretty minuscule, but again, mixed with the right playstyles of the shots landed and all the other things that go into these situational gunfights, they made a world of a difference, and it really shows how just the minor changes could offset the meta of the game, and it was something else. But the range increase and the recoil reduction were absolutely huge. Headshots come natural to some people if you aim higher, but those were absolutely huge helps. You could effectively land those shots much easier at range and kill in a much quicker time as a result of those multipliers. Mix that with the already rapid rate of fire, the mobility of the weapon, and the other attributes that it holds, you get a recipe for success. And the final weapon we'll talk about in our actual top 5 is that of the Ram 7, one that has been making its way into my matches at least quite a bit as of recently, and the weapon from Season 1 was always fantastic. It had a decent range, it had a decent damage, and it was something that was relatively easy to control. You toss on the right attachments and it made it even better, but it just seems to be something that as of right now works. So for that, I think that we've talked about it as an honorable mention before, but it kind of seems to have creeped into that top 5, at least for me as of right now. So that's going to round out the number 5 here with this, and is one that I think is a list that is pretty solid. Again, feel free to add, subtract, whatever it is in the comments you want to of that, but before we wrap things up, I do want to give some honorable mentions, because we talked about that in Modern Warfare there's a cluster of weapons that are really freaking good, and then it drops off steep to, well, you don't want to use these weapons. So while this top 5 might not necessarily exactly represent your top 5, some of the honorable mentions may fill that in, to which firstly I want to talk about the Odin. Again, highest damage per shot value in terms of rifles. It is something that has a much slower rate of fire, is a little bit bulkier and less maneuverable, but is still something that if you take it a little slower, you're going to be absolutely able to just take out waves of enemies and do incredibly well with it. It's a headshot machine with that multiplier and that damage per shot, so aim a little higher. The Bison is also one that we've talked about as well before. It's one that is an SMG that I think is maybe for damage slightly above middle of the pack, but the thing that really gets me is even the default magazine capacity. You can end up shredding through enemies and just running gauntlets on players without even having to reload ever, and that's something that I absolutely love, and for that, to me, it becomes a run and gunner's dream weapon. The MP7 also is up there as a weapon that is in the honorable mention, because SMG-wise, again, while the MP5 reigns supreme, this and I think the Bison are the 2 second runners up here for it. They're fantastic weapons, and the MP7 is very mobile, very versatile, and depending on how you kit it out, it actually can have the fastest ADS time of any of the SMGs. So it's fantastic and highly recommend that one. The FN Scar is another weapon that I'd throw in the honorable mentions as well. The recent adjustments to that over the past month or two has made it a more formidable weapon as well. You can still seriously do incredibly well with it, but I just don't think it cracks the top 5 as of right now. And one that actually I think as of recently, this update for Season 2 has made it into the honorable mentions is that of some of the Akimbo pistols. Now, Akimbo pistols on any of these are fantastic, but I think the thing that really gets me is the Akimbo Snake Shot Magnum. That thing is already incredibly powerful as is, but when you throw on the Snake Shot, well, it just becomes a little bit more powerful. So those are the honorable mentions here with this, and one that I do want to mention that isn't an honorable mention but is a weapon that was adjusted was the SA-87. I don't think that it's necessarily quite the bottom of the barrel anymore. It's still a weapon that if I wasn't going for challenges, I probably wouldn't use it all that much, but with the adjustments made to the weapon to smooth out the recoil and increase the damage, it gave it a little bit more of a fighting chance. But ultimately, that's the weapons here. That's the top 5 that I think are in Modern Warfare right now, and of course, the honorable mentions that go along with it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you agree, disagree, whatever it may be? Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And of course, again, if you have anything that differs from this, or you have your own top 5, feel free to drop it down below. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you get subscribed so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare, updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff we get you covered here on the channel. So if any of that interests you, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. I can live on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is in the description below. But that said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.